The story opens with a car driving down the road. Inside is a family, a young boy named Max, his mother Rachel, and his father Josh. Before long, they arrive at a spacious house, their new home. Josh and Rachel had just purchased it together, a decision they both agreed upon. Excitement fills the air, especially for Max. However, when shown his room, Max feels disappointed. It's too small and carries a faint odor. While Rachel stays busy unpacking, Josh can't wait to set up a mini golf area in the front yard. When he brings up the idea, Rachel hesitantly agrees, noting it shouldn't cost too much. On their first night, many boxes are still unpacked. Josh even forgets that Max's favorite stuffed toy is still in the car. Without it, Max simply can't sleep. After checking on Max, Josh takes a moment to relax. As a little celebration, Rachel teases Josh into spending the night together. But suddenly, a car tire crashes through their home. Josh rushes out and realizes there's been an accident in their front yard. His realization is quickly followed by Max's terrified scream. The next morning, Josh dives into reading news about the incident. Distracted, he struggles to focus during a meeting at work, led by his colleague Erickson, who had just been promoted. Noticing Josh's unease, Erickson tells him he'd like to give him a housewarming gift. After work, Josh heads to pick up Rachel, who works as a therapist at the hospital. On the drive, they discuss the accident, learning that the car's driver had died. By their second day, Josh is busy beautifying the house. Meanwhile, Max sneaks outside to play in the yard, right at the crash site where the driver lost his life. Shards of broken glass are still scattered on the ground, not exactly an ideal start for a family in a new home. Still, Josh reassures himself that the life he and Rachel are building together is the right choice. Soon, a car pulls up near their yard. 4 people step out and begin setting up a small tribute. Josh can't hide his unease at the sight. After asking around, he learns that the man who died was named Kyle Curry and that he was a fan of American football. On the other hand, Josh begins speculating about what may have caused the accident. He realizes their house sits right in front of a sharp curve. The second problem is that the warning sign for the curve is no longer visible, hidden beneath overgrown branches. At work, Josh keeps digging for information about Kyle Curry. He becomes so absorbed in it that he doesn't notice he's been neglecting his new subordinate, Alan. That evening, Josh and Rachel host a dinner with close friends. At first, the atmosphere is warm and elegant, but everything shifts when Josh brings up his failure to get a promotion. He admits he lost out to a colleague who was simply better at sucking up to the boss. From there, the conversation turns to the fatal accident that happened right outside their home. Rachel grows uneasy when Josh begins recounting detailed information about Kyle Curry's background. After dinner, Rachel realizes Josh has lost all sense of priorities. He's far too curious, obsessing over things that don't benefit their lives. For instance, he isn't all that upset about missing the promotion. What truly occupies his mind now is the accident in front of their house. Rachel finally suggests Josh see a psychologist. Fortunately, she knows a colleague named Peter, whom she believes can help. The next day, Josh prepares his newly purchased lawnmower. He takes the initiative to cut back the overgrown branches that had been covering the road sign. Thanks to his effort, drivers now seem to have an easier time navigating the curve. Another day passes. Since it's Sunday, Josh and Rachel decide to take Max to a local festival. There, Josh tries to win Max a stuffed toy at a hammer-swinging booth. Despite several attempts, he fails. Still, the booth attendant decides to give the toy to Max anyway, saying, "Your dad really tried his best." That night, while Josh and Rachel are busy preparing dinner, Max is still awake in the living room. Suddenly, a loud noise echoes from outside, the sound of another crash. Josh immediately tells Rachel to call 911. For the second time, a serious accident has occurred right in front of their home. This time, it involves 2 cars. One manages to speed away, but the other is left behind, its driver critically injured, but still barely breathing. Moments later, the driver's phone begins to ring. The caller ID shows a woman named Alicia. When police sirens approach, Josh quietly slips the phone into his pocket. As paramedics and officers arrive at the scene, Rachel tends to Max, who is now deeply traumatized by the repeated accidents. Meanwhile, Josh is left shaken and regretful, having witnessed the driver take his final breath right in front of him. The next day, Josh is seen transferring data from the phone he had pocketed the night before. He learns that a man named Howard had a great passion for golf. After work, Josh heads straight to Howard's wake. Among the many attendees, he finally spots Alicia. When he approaches her, it's revealed that Alicia is actually Howard's daughter. Josh lies, claiming that he knew Howard from playing golf together regularly. From that point on, Josh is consumed by guilt, pushing him to attend a first aid training course. He becomes so invested that he even considers spending $300 on a device demonstrated during the class. The instructor explains that for $300, he can purchase a high-quality device called Preston. Without hesitation, Josh orders one online. The following day, Josh is called into Ericsson's office. Ericsson reprimands him for neglecting Alan, who has grown increasingly frustrated with Josh's slow responses to his work. Later at home, Josh obsessively watches the traffic passing by his house. Meanwhile, Rachel, while bathing Max, suddenly calls him in. She has discovered a bald patch on Max's head. Apparently, Max has been compulsively pulling out his own hair. Sure enough, when searching his room, Rachel finds a clump of Max's hair hidden in a drawer. Alarmed, Rachel and Josh rush Max to a psychiatrist. There, Josh argues with Rachel. He insists that Max's issues stem from her constant desire to sell the house and move away, while Rachel believes Josh simply mismanages his time as a parent. Josh argues that he could do his work remotely, and what they truly need now is a second car. As a compromise, he offers to find a cheap vehicle that won't deplete their savings. The very next day, Josh picks Max up, this time using their newly acquired second car. Afterwards, he spends time cooking and reading with Max. In between, he continues practicing with the new first aid device he bought, something Rachel remains unaware of. For the moment, Josh is genuinely stepping up as a more active and positive father. Meanwhile, Rachel enrolls Max in Taekwondo to keep him more physically engaged. Naturally, Josh takes on the responsibility of accompanying him. During practice, Josh receives a call from Ericsson. On their way back home, an ambulance suddenly overtakes Josh's car. A terrible feeling washes over him, and indeed another accident has just occurred right in front of their house. This time, the crash has caused a fire to break out, killing the driver instantly. Josh is left standing in shock in his own front yard, overwhelmed by guilt, as yet another life is lost before his eyes. A news reporter pulls him aside, and Josh admits that he has now witnessed 3 accidents at his doorstep, but this one was by far the worst. Then, out of nowhere, Josh remembers Max. He had left Max inside the car. Horrified, he rushes back, only to realize Max is no longer there. At that moment, Rachel, who has just returned from work, panics as well and frantically searches for their son. To their shock, they find Max standing right next to the burned car, its flames only recently extinguished. After that, Josh is shown meeting Peter, Rachel's colleague who is a psychologist. Rachel hopes Josh will open up and share his feelings with Peter, but the session proves fruitless, as Josh instead criticizes Rachel for enrolling Max in Taekwondo. He argues that if he hadn't taken Max there, then Max wouldn't have witnessed the accident so directly. Soon after, a for sale sign is placed in front of the house. Josh can't do much, and it's clear this is seen as the only solution. Meanwhile, Rachel grows increasingly worried about Max's condition. Max now sleeps with Rachel, while Josh is asked to sleep in Max's room. The next day, Ericsson finally loses his patience. Josh is given no more chances and is ultimately fired. Josh, however, keeps this from Rachel, believing that staying silent is the best way not to make things worse. Josh continues trying to be both a father and a friend to Max, but he slowly realizes that Max has reached a traumatic stage. At one point, Max lines up his toys in a way that resembles the accident scene he witnessed. From this, Josh devises a plan to try slowing down cars by placing a trash bin closer to the middle of the road. Still, the anxiety and dread never leave him, keeping him awake at night. The days pass, and Josh still hasn't told Rachel about losing his job. He even pretends to leave for work each morning, opening the car door as if heading to the office, when in reality he stays home practicing with his secret first aid device. Whenever he's at home, he constantly monitors the sharp bend in the road, which fuels his anxiety even more. His obsession grows so strong that he begins watching accident footage online. This is the very definition of a life stripped of quality, all because of the house's location. One morning while having breakfast, Josh notices a married couple who seem interested in buying the house. Later, Josh arrives late to Max's psychiatric appointment. When Rachel calls his office to check, she learns the truth, that Josh no longer works there. Before she can process it, Rachel also receives a call from a real estate agent. Finally, Rachel decides to stay at a relative's house, exhausted after her efforts to sell the house were sabotaged by Josh, who had warned the prospective buyers not to purchase it. Josh admits he couldn't bear to see the pregnant wife of the buyer and felt compelled to reveal the dangers of the property. Now Josh has truly lost everything, not just his job, but Rachel and Max as well. To make matters worse, Rachel becomes even more disturbed when she discovers Josh's hidden medical training equipment. Josh is then forced to meet with a local attorney to deal with Rachel's divorce filing. Rachel declares that she will take Max with her, and Josh will only be allowed 2 supervised hours per week with his son. Furthermore, she demands that the house be sold, and the proceeds split 50-50, just as when they first bought it. From that point, Josh stops relying on agents. He decides he will sell the house himself, directly to potential buyers. One day, a car stops in front of the house, but the driver has no intention of buying it. In his solitude, Josh only has 2 hours to be with Max. After playing with him at the park, Josh has to return Max to the Guardian. There, Josh tells Max that they'll see each other again after 7 sleeps, meaning 7 days later. When the day finally comes, Josh is at the supermarket when he receives a call. Soon after, a married couple arrives to look at the house. They admit that it has everything they've been searching for, and the price is attractive. When asked if there's any drawback, Josh insists there isn't. He simply explains the house is being sold by a man going through a divorce. The deal is struck. With nothing else to do, Josh begins packing up. That night, he makes time for a video call with Max, showing him the now empty home that has finally been sold. Josh says he'll soon be moving closer to Max's school. He spends the night finishing the packing, since the buyers will move their belongings in the next morning. But even in the middle of his busyness, Josh still monitors the sharp bend in the road. He can't stop wondering if he's truly capable of saving someone's life. Then Josh has an idea he's never considered before. He sprays water from his house, making the bend even more slippery. Not satisfied, he focuses on the road sign, which is now clearly visible, then rushes to remove it completely. He waits inside, ears tuned for the inevitable crash. It doesn't take long. A car skids and flips instantly. Josh rushes out with his first aid kit. A woman is trapped inside the vehicle, just as a bus full of high school students pulls up, turning the rescue into a public spectacle. In front of countless eyes, Josh throws himself into the effort. At last, he begins applying his first aid skills. Just as he resigns himself to failure, the woman suddenly breathes again. Paramedics arrive soon after, thanking and praising Josh for his bravery. And here, the film comes to an end. In essence, the conclusion of this film is that the accident on the very first night in their new home completely changed the lives of Josh and Rachel. From the moment Josh witnessed that first crash, his attitude shifted. He became curious about the victim who had died and soon obsessed with the background of the deceased. Josh began to feel there was nothing left to look forward to in life, especially after missing out on the promotion he had hoped for. Josh was never a heroic father, never the center of attention, and never truly appreciated. All of this was already true long before he moved into the new house. But then, when an accident unfolded right before his eyes, Josh saw it as an opportunity to reinvent himself. Though at first it left him deeply traumatized, it gradually pushed him to obsess over every car that passed the sharp bend in front of his home, eventually leading him to enroll in a first aid training course. As time passed, Josh's obsession with accident victims only worsened. It intensified when he attended the funeral of one victim and lied to the man's daughter, claiming to have been her father's friend. Yet from that lie, Josh felt a strange joy. For once, someone believed him, trusted him, and even appreciated his concern. But tragically, Josh began to lose sight of his real priorities. His work performance declined. He spent more and more time practicing with medical equipment, and his life unraveled. He lost his job, his wife wanted a divorce, and he could no longer spend meaningful time with his son. Finally, on his last night in that house, Josh longed to become the heroic figure he had always dreamed of being. He hoped for one last accident, an opportunity to use the skills he had spent so long practicing. And when it happened, Josh was ecstatic. There were even witnesses who were impressed by his dedication, some recording videos of his rescue attempt. After this dramatic act, it's clear that Josh would continue to be praised by many. News coverage of his heroism would spread, and that recognition was exactly what he had been chasing in this new chapter of his life. But the question remains, would Josh ever be forgiven once investigators examined the crash site? After all, it was Josh himself who had deliberately removed the road sign, making him the true cause of the tragedy. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.